Hi everyone, this is Katie, Holistic Nutritionist, and I'm hopping on every Monday at 7 to talk about a different healthy habit or health issue that my clients and we're dealing with and how to heal from it. So tonight I am talking about digestive power. So our digestion is so crucial and so key and foundational to our well-being. And for those who have ever suffered from any sort of digestive pain or dis-ease, you really understand this. And hi Donna. And just to also set the stage, I'm going to talk about this topic. And then if you have questions while I'm talking, you can put them in the chat. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of time to answer your questions. So I'm going to try to just leave them for the end rather than jumping into the questions and creating sort of like a disjoint in the chat. Okay? So, and they're welcome. And also, if you are watching in the future, then feel free to write in your questions because I will go back and I will answer them as well. Okay. So digestion, oh man, I suffered for so many years. I think I was born with weak digestion. I was colicky and it was just really tough for me to digest food. And that seemed to be a trend throughout my life until I really took it into my own hands to figure out how to heal because it really prevented me from enjoying life. And being able to say yes to going out for dinners and I just didn't know what would happen to my digestion and my belly. So let's begin with what creates powerful digestion and what a healthy digestive system looks like. And then I'm going to get into the challenges that you might be experiencing or someone you know might be experiencing. And then how do we heal from that? So I'm going to give 10 different tips to start your healing. And remember, this isn't just about healing or repairing. This is also about building and preventing. So a big thing that I'm into is preventative self-care, right? So we don't have to wait until we're sick to strengthen, because there's sometimes dis-ease in the body is sort of lurking beneath the surface, and until we feel the overspill in the symptoms and the body starts to talk to us, then we start to pay attention and really learn how to take care of ourselves. We don't have to wait till then, okay? All right, and I've got some really great notes. If you see me looking down, it's because I don't want to miss out on everything that I have created for tonight. So what does healthy digestion look like? Well, it actually begins in the liver. And your liver and your gut are intimately connected. And one of your liver's main role is to create bile. It stores it in the gallbladder, and then the gallbladder releases it into the intestines, but the liver creates it, okay? And bile is so important because it is what breaks down fats. And we'll get into why we want that to happen, okay? So, and the second thing that is really important and that creates strong digestion is your hydrochloric acid in your stomach. And now there isn't just one, there's actually 7 different varieties of hydrochloric acids that are produced from the cells in the stomach. And those together are pretty much like the grandmother and grandfather of strong, healthy digestion, okay? And what happens over time and exposure to chemicals, exposure to stress, stress specifically, adrenaline is, the liver soaks up adrenaline when we have a lot of stress and adrenaline pumping through our body. The liver will actually take the hit and soak it up because it wants to stop it from entering your central nervous system, which would create a much worse effect in the body. So your liver takes the hit. So the liver is burdened with the stress, burdened with the environmental toxins, the pathogens that are like Epstein-Barr virus that burrow into the liver and start to create damage, and it weakens. And it can no longer produce the really strong, healthy bile that we need, or enough bile that we need. And then also the stress burdens the lining of the stomach acid, so the adrenaline can sear the stomach, and it so it burdens the cells that produce the hydrochloric acid, okay? And then if we have pathogens living in our stomach and feeding off undigested particles of food, they also are doing damage and creating inflammation of the cells that are producing the hydrochloric acid. So we start to see a decrease in the bile production and the hydrochloric acid. And now something that's so amazing about how the body works together, when the liver knows that it cannot produce enough bile, it actually sends a message to the stomach saying help. And it asks the stomach to increase its hydrochloric acid output. And now if the stomach has to maintain that because the liver is not getting healthy because of the way that we are treating our bodies, then unfortunately the hydrochloric acid production also decreases, and that's the beginning of digestive distress and upset. And the first place that we'll notice that is bloating, okay? That would be the first symptom that, hey, there is something wrong with my digestion. Bloating is not like consistent bloating actually isn't something that we should be experiencing a lot of the time. That some people can sort of get become normalized to these symptoms, but I want to bring awareness that that is an indicator, that is a messenger from your body saying there's something wrong here. And so what causes bloating? Well, I started to mention the first two, which are the hydrochloric acid goes down, the bile goes down, and then so what's the result of that? Well, the food that we eat does not get properly broken down and digested. And so now we have sticky fats and protein moving into the intestine, not being broken down, and it starts to actually stick to the lining of the intestines. And with that, the pathogens start to eat and feed off of these sticky proteins and fats. And now we start to create the bloating, because when the pathogens feed, the bad pathogens, the troublemakers, the viruses and bacteria that are not actually working for us, because we have some that are, we actually have a lot that are, and that's very important too. They actually produce a byproduct that creates gas and their toxins that they produce. So when they eat that food, they actually poop something more toxic than the food they're eating. And that actually creates the inflammation. That is what damages the cells and creates the inflammation. So when we have inflammation of the intestines, that's when we start to experience the bloating, right? The distension of the body, the belly, it starts to push out and push out and push out. And then before you know it, it's never flattening again. It's just continuing to push out. And so we're creating a soupy mess of the toxins, the pathogens, and the undigested food, and it starts caking on. And that's the beginning of digestive upset, okay? And anything else around, right. One more thing that creates the bloating, and this is where the liver and the digestive system are so intimately connected. When the liver becomes sluggish because of the foods we're eating or the stress we're under or the environmental toxins that we are not sufficiently able to move out of the system. Unfortunately, the liver hates doing this, but it will have to. It overspills the toxins back into the system. The lymphatic system picks it up, and the lymph vessels around the intestines and the colon start to seep those chemicals back into the intestines and colon, right? So again, when the liver's unwell, it also creates a whole effect and challenges and stresses our digestive system. Didn't think you would get this detailed into this, did you? It's really important, because the more that you know, the more that you understand the root cause, then you can actually gear your diet and your lifestyle to healing yourself. And so I'm all about empowering my clients and empowering you with the information so you can make better choices and better decisions. And this is your body. This is your vessel. It is, I've always been fascinated about it. I mean, that's why I studied it for the past 20 years, but like, how do we get to understand this vessel that we're in so that we can live that vibrant life and do the things that we love to do, okay? So the next indicator that there's something going wrong in the digestive system, and it is asking for your help, is constipation. And so what creates constipation? So I was talking about that inflammation, right? And so what happens in the intestines is that pockets of the intestines become inflamed. And as they inflame, they enclose, or they create a swallow narrowing. And then the movement of our bowels actually gets stuck in those position in that place, right? And so it is again that over time effect of non-digested or undigested food, the pathogens proliferating and eating them. And then what happens also when that lining becomes inflamed and more of these sticky fats and proteins line the digestive system, the good bacteria get smothered. The good bacteria can't reach the good food, and it can't eat the fruits and vegetables anymore, and it actually smothers and dies. And so now we have an imbalance of good and bad, and the bad starts to increase, and the good bacteria that is keeping that whole environment healthy is starting to decrease. And if we have a diet high in wheat, high in eggs, corn, lots of meat, dairy, these are the foods that fuel the troublemaking pathogens, okay? So it's not necessarily the food itself, but it's what it is feeding. Now, dairy, no matter what, will create mucus lining in the whole intestinal tract, which is problematic. But dairy, when you have the right concoction of pathogens, viruses and bacteria that are bad and that love that dairy and wheat, that's when we start to see the inflammation and the other symptoms of digestive distress that have labels, okay? And I'm sure you've heard some of these labels. So one of them is IBS, Irritable Bowel Syndrome, okay? And Irritable Bowel Syndrome is a label for what a lot of doctors aren't really understanding necessarily the root cause of. And they may throw some drugs at the patient. But again, if we're not getting at keeping the liver healthy and your hydrochloric acid high and your good bacteria happy, then we're really not getting at the root, right? And we also need to get those pathogens numbers down. So, and IBS it's just so uncomfortable. I mean, the symptoms so IBS is like the culmination of a lot of these digestive upsets. So you can experience constipation. You could experience blood in your stool. You could experience so much pain and cramping. You can experience bloating, right? Stress, absolutely, because it's multi-layered here, but when stress increases, we have more of the adrenaline, which feeds the bad guys and decreases the amount of digestion. So stress will increase irritable bowel syndrome, but it's not necessarily the root cause, okay? And then what happens from here, and this is where the cyclical pattern actually it's really important to understand what happens here. When all of these symptoms are created that I just spoke about, you start to experience malabsorption of nutrients. And your body can no longer uptake the nutrients and get them across the intestinal walls to be able to assimilate and deliver back to the liver so that the liver can be healthy. And so the liver is lacking great nutrients because the digestive system is blocked essentially. And you see what happens, and then the liver weakens, it can't create the bile, and then we have this whole cyclical effect, okay? I'm not gonna get too much into the other symptoms like colitis and celiac, but know that colitis and celiac are not autoimmune. That's a hypothesis that's been put out there by the medical society. Your body is not attacking itself. We have not seen in the last couple of decades more and more, I mean millions of bodies who are having digestive issues. All of a sudden, the body is now attacking itself. Like if you really tune into that, it doesn't even make sense. Colitis, the instigator of colitis is the shingles virus, a certain strain of the shingles virus that likes to eat wheat and dairy and eggs and all the environmental toxins, and it grows and it creates really, really like bad inflammation, okay, in the colon. And that's what creates colitis. When you have celiac, you have a specific pathogen that loves wheat in in particular, okay? It eats other foods, but it loves wheat. When it eats the wheat, it poops out a toxin 10 times more potent, and that's when you start to get the inflammation in the blood and the stools and the incredible cramping and pain, okay? So your body is not attacking itself. Your body is sending out a cry and a signal for help. And that's what I'm now going to talk about. How do we start to heal from this? So again, when we understand the root cause and we understand what's happening, and I would say a lot of clients, I would say probably 100% of my clients and people I talk to have some level of digestive upset, have some weakening of their digestive system. So we could all benefit from these next 10 tips that I'm going to share with you. And they are, all right, so number one, when we are eating our food, the body works this way, that you need to be in rest and digest. Rest and digest is where your body will push all the blood and energy to your digestive system and really honor the power of the digestive system. If we're in a state of sympathetic, go, 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 stress, 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 working, I'll just shove food in my mouth, I'll eat and I'll think about the next 10 things I have to do, or I'll eat and I'll have this loud, kind of stressful conversation with my family. We are not in rest and digest, okay? And so it is so important to eat in a peaceful, calm, present state. And you want to treat your food like you would a date. When you're on a date, I'm sure you really appreciate that they are present with you, and there's more energy exchange when that happens, and there's more love and there's more feelings that are nourishing. Well, it's the same with your food. We really want to give the food the intention when we're eating it. We want to chew our food, we want to taste it, we want to be in the experience of that food, because digestion is so much more than we can fully understand or comprehend. And I believe it's really a metaphysical experience. I think there's the physical and the spiritual part to it. And we really need to bring that presence into eating. And at least the gratitude for the food, 10 deep breaths, and just centering your feet on the earth and noticing where you are before you start to eat, okay? So, I mean, that is a really, really profound tip, and that will already shift you towards better digestion. So tip number 2 is we want to decrease our overall stress. So not just when we eat, but our overall stress. If we are exposed to sort of toxic relationships or mental, emotional abuse consistently, or our own mind of worrying, our own mind of fear, right? The perception that our mind carries, the limiting beliefs that our mind carries, these all elicit stress hormones. Each experience, each emotion we experience has a correlating hormone, and the sort of emotions that are like taxing and waning and challenging to the body and the mind and the spirit actually have a hormone that is the same to the body, okay? And that's what starts to wear down our digestive power. So overall, decreasing stress. I love self-care practice, and that's a big part of my coaching, is really the holistic approach to our lifestyle. It's not just the nutrition, but really getting into like, how do we decrease our stress? And so that would be a whole other talk, but I'm sure there's already practices you have in place, like going for a walk after dinner in the trees, or doing a guided meditation, or doing 10 minutes of deep breathing. Even laughing de-stresses the body, right? Laughing with a friend. So just being aware of the levels of stress that you have, and know that it is having an impact on your digestive system, and decreasing that would be really great. So the third one is avoiding fried foods. Fried foods are very, very hard to digest and full of toxic fats. And so we want to, if we are experiencing any of the symptoms I spoke about, we want to decrease those, or if we want to be preventative, we want to decrease those, okay? And so, yes, I don't think I need to say much more than that, but essentially fried foods, or foods that are high in fat and high processed sugar. So like a donut, a muffin, and not your homemade muffin, but the muffin you would buy out and about, right? So these type of high fat, high sugary foods, high processed foods really, really they are a big part of the reason that we are seeing so many bodies that are having a hard time to digest, because the body was not meant to consume those over and over and over. It just isn't. It's not made to digest those things. The next tip, this was really profound in my life, and this was a big, I would say, like, marker of when my digestive system started to heal in a very noticeable way. And that's when I started drinking celery juice in the morning. So celery juice on an empty stomach, about 2 cups, will instantly start to strengthen and provide the building blocks for your hydrochloric acid. Okay, so the first thing it does is it goes in and it starts to rebuild your hydrochloric acid and give the building blocks to your stomach to actually create those 7 different hydrochloric acids. It will then continue down and it will start to pull out the toxic debris and kill the pathogens in your entire digestive system. And it will then move out into your liver and help to clean your liver. It will move into your joints and help to ease arthritis. It will also help to ease all of those autoimmune symptoms. And I can't say enough good things about it. But again, you know, each client is different. Each client can handle a different amount. So that's like, you know, I'm giving sort of the broad overview of the tips, but if you really want the more individual support, I would be guiding you specifically in understanding exactly what you're dealing with and how to put you on this sort of regimen in a safe way. Because celery juice can actually create some sort of negative effects that we call negative, but are actually just the body purging itself. The next one is aloe vera. Aloe vera is incredible. We use it to heal our skin after a burn or to provide it with more nourishment and hydration. But aloe vera actually can be taken internally. And I will leave I will leave 2 different recipes for an aloe vera juice or smoothie that is very soothing and healing to the lining of the gut. So it will start to heal the inflammation. It's also an antibacterial. It also helps with arthritis as well. And it helps to lower high cholesterol. It binds to toxins in the intestines. It's pretty incredible. And now the aloe vera I recommend is actually fresh aloe vera. You can get it at a health food store. It comes like just in a big leaf of aloe vera, and you sort of fillet the skin or the gel. Okay, and that's what you can use. Or you can already buy processed aloe vera, like watery type thing from a health food store as well. Okay, but I'll leave that recipe after. The next tip is hydration. So many of us are walking around dehydrated. I will do a whole lecture on water and hydration, but just know that you need to be drinking more water and getting more living water from your fruits and your vegetables. Your raw living fruits and vegetables provide you with the best, cleanest, most quality water hydration that you can have, and that is key. So when you watch a river and there's not a lot of water running through it, the sediment starts to build up, right? And so it's really important to see your digestive system the same way. You need to be hydrating it and flowing the river through it constantly. Hydration. Now, hydration is also the building block of a healthy liver and producing the hydrochloric acids and the enzymes to digest your food. So hydration is key. And you want to get around like 10 to 12 glasses, and you want to be eating, again, the raw fruits and vegetables. The other tip I have for you is increase your green leafy vegetables, okay? The fiber from green leafy vegetables is key. It is like the janitor of your bowels and intestines. It goes in and it starts to just pull out all that stuff that I told you is lining your intestines and colon and pushing your belly out, pushing it out to create what is called megacolon, and it's just full of all this toxic debris. And so you want to go in there with the fiber from these green leafy vegetables. I personally love I love Swiss chard, I love kale, and the easiest way that I make it is I steam it. When it's bright green, it's done, okay? So I steam it, and then I mix a little bit of olive oil, fresh lemon, raw garlic, which is amazing at killing pathogens, salt and pepper, and I mix that in, and then I put the greens on in that little mixture and toss it. It's so simple. It's so easy. And I have that probably 4 to 5 times a week easily. It's one of my favorite ways to get greens. Yeah, 10 to 12 cups of water. Yes, Laura. And again, if you're eating a lot of raw fruits and vegetables, you might not need to drink as much water. Speaking of water. But one of the tips with water, squeeze something fresh into it. So I will give a whole lecture on water and the different types of water. I don't want to get too much into this. I want you to drink water, but you do need to know that tap water not being filtered is dehydrating. The chlorine in tap water dehydrates your body. And there's other toxins in there that are very dehydrating. So try to put something fresh and alive, like squeeze fresh lime in your water, okay? So those dark leafy vegetables, it's summer out, it's beautiful time to be growing these on your balcony or your backyard, or at least to be buying them and making salads, right? So salads are way more appetizing when it's hot out. So your dark leafy greens, I recommend having a serving, like 2 to 3 cups of these a day. So decreasing, so the 9th tip is to decrease the foods that feed the pathogens. A big part of why we see so many humans walking around with chronic illness and mystery symptoms and diseases that are just they're being thrown labels at, but not understanding the root. And the main troublemaker is the environmental toxins and the pathogens that eat the environmental toxins. And so we want to stop feeding the pathogens the food that they like. We might not have control over all the environmental toxins that are dropping from the sky, that are in our soil, that is just like seeping out of industry, a new car that we bought, a new carpet. I mean, you name it. I just created a document. I think it's like 10 pages now of outlining all the different environmental toxins, the skin product we use. But we do really have control. We do have control over skin product. We have control over the food we choose to eat. And so it's not that like these foods are bad. It's not bad food. It's just, what is it doing? Who is it feeding? And what is that creating in our body, right? And so the pathogens love dairy. They love wheat. They love eggs. They love corn. They love some grains, especially if we're highly inflamed. I would say easy on the grains. If you're not, then you don't have to be as concerned about them. And they love GMO and they love pesticides. So I really encourage my clients to go organic where they can and to limit these foods, to limit or eliminate for a period of time until your body gets back to where it is healthy, okay? Because again, if we're talking health is here and you're way down here, it's really important to take these foods out of your body so that your body has a chance to get back up to that healthy square one place where it can operate at its optimal level. And that might take some time because the way that I approach things, it's not a quick fix. It's not a pill. It's not something that's momentarily going to suppress the symptoms and then they come back with a vengeance because we didn't get at the root. I'm all about getting at the root. And when we get at the root, we heal for good. We don't return back to those symptoms. They're gone because we've actually brought our body back into alignment. And again, if we don't know what's out of alignment, how do we come back into alignment? How do we know how to come back into alignment? And so that's why it's so important to understand the root cause. And those pathogens are at the root, okay? So decreasing the pathogenic foods, and that will help to decrease the numbers. The next one is a food that is incredibly multidimensional in its healing, repairing, and just tackling what we're up against. And that is wild, yes, Kim, even the pasture eggs. Unfortunately, any eggs. I used to eat eggs every morning for my entire life. And when I took myself off of them, that's when I started to see all of my symptoms disappear. I mean, I did many other things, but eggs was a huge one. In fact, my body actually was signaling to me, but then when I found out the truth about the eggs feeding, they keep cancer alive in petri dish with eggs. They study bacteria and keep them alive with eggs. They fed them. These viruses are just, that's one of their foods, unfortunately. So if you're dealing with these issues, then you're going to want to decrease them. If you have no issues and you're good, then maybe eggs aren't a problem for you, okay? So back to the food that I was speaking about is wild blueberries. Wild blueberries in 100 years from now is going to be researched and realized is probably one of the most potent foods on planet Earth. Its makeup is incredible. Every food also has a spiritual, emotional, and mental component, and wild blueberries will grow after being burned down to the ashes. A new bush will grow. And so it's the same thing. It gives you that amount of strength and support to be able to handle what life throws at you, okay? But it also goes in and it starves the bacteria of food, the bad bacteria, it feeds the good bacteria, and it actually crosses the blood-brain barrier and starts to repair the damage from oxidative stress of heavy metals and environmental toxins in the brain, which is what's contributing to brain fog and Alzheimer's. And again, that's a different talk. But wild blueberries are so potent for your healing, okay? And they are something that you can introduce in a fruit bowl in the morning. You can have them in a smoothie. You can have them as a snack, just eating them. I get frozen, and because wild blueberries is the one food, when frozen, it will still keep its potency. It doesn't decrease its potency. Okay, they are so hearty and so incredible. And the last tip I want to give you, if you're dealing with digestive upset, and this is not nutrition based, but it's really important, is to know that, especially if you're dealing with constipation, that your bowels, your gut is massaged when you walk and exercise. The movement of walking actually starts to create that peristaltic movement in your intestines and colon, which, as I was explaining before, in constipation, you start to get this sort of inflammation. You also get to, constipation is caused by the body or the intestines not creating that strong peristaltic motion because of inflammation and damage. And so when we walk, we're actually creating the muscles around our gut is creating that effect. So exercising and walking is key to keeping our gut healthy. Okay. And it also helps to pump the liver. And remember, the liver is like a sponge. So the more that we move, the more we support the liver to detoxify itself and to be healthy. Woo. All right. So there's my 10 little tips. If you are dealing with any of these sort of issues, I would be happy to support you and to help you really find an individual path and program that's geared to your needs. But I wanted to jump on because these tips, these can be instantly put into place tomorrow. And I feel very confident in what I shared with you that it will support you. It might not be the whole picture, but it will get you started in feeling better. Okay. And so answering questions here, Kate. So I answered the how many cups, 10 to 12 glasses of water. Yeah, 10 to 12 cups a day. If you're exercising a lot, you might need more. And I'm always big on following the body signals. So some days you might just feel more thirsty, right? Some days your body needs more nutrients. So again, listening to your body is key. I, right now, am really thirsty. Talking makes me really thirsty. I answered pastured eggs. Yes, it's healthiest eggs, loved every day, treated, fed the best food. Unfortunately, it's still an egg and it will still feed the pathogen if you're dealing with that. Kate said, what would you recommend for breakfast? So last Monday, I talked about clean, critical carbohydrates, and my recommendation for breakfast is fruit bowl. A fruit bowl is a really beautiful way to ease your body into digestion. You're not going to have to deal with heavy fats and proteins, and you're providing your body with really easily assimilated nutrients from that fruit because it's the easiest food to digest on earth. And it is going to provide your body with life. So you're going to start your day alive and well instead of feeling heavy and bloated and tired And that's another symptom of indigestion, which I forgot to mention, is that you feel tired after a meal. We're not meant to feel tired after a meal. We're meant to eat to get energy, right? Not to feel tired. So we want to start looking at what are your meals consisting of and how are you food combining? And that's something I'm happy to help you with individually, because that is so important to understand, that these signals, these symptoms, we sort of adjust to and we think are normal, and we become like, yeah, it becomes our new norm. But then when you start to heal your digestion, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could feel this good. I didn't know I could feel this energized. I didn't know that I could end my day without having my belly distend. You know, and those are some of the results when I start working with people. It's like, oh, I didn't even know I was suffering from that thing. And then of course there's the people that do know, because it's so painful. So I recommend having a big fruit bowl, like 4 to 5 different fruits. Cut up your celery to add in the sodium. You need the sodium to balance your electrolytes, okay? Because fruit's really good at providing your other electrolytes, but not necessarily sodium. And that's what I would recommend. So if there's no other questions and you're watching in the future, please feel free to add your questions here. I will come back to them. And I look forward to sharing more information about how to live a vibrant, healthy life with nutrition and self-care next Monday at 7. And enjoy this incredible weather and drink lots of water. Okay, take care. Bye.